Today I want to talk to you about choosing a ruler for machine quilting on your domestic sewing machine. Hi, I'm Kim Jamison Hurst, and there are a lot of ruler templates you can get to do ruler quilting on your domestic sewing machine. So the first thing I want to say to you is make sure you get the right ruler, and what I mean there is if you have a low shank sewing machine, you need to get a low shank ruler template. If you have a high shank sewing machine, you need to get a high shank ruler. You could use a low as well, but let's just keep it simple. Get the right ruler for the shank on your sewing machine. And if you don't know what that is, you can also check with the sewing machine manufacturer. You can check with people who make the ruler templates. They can usually help you out as well if you tell them what model machine you're working with. Now that we're past that, let's talk about what you will see on the ruler. So I always talk about the markings on rulers, and I often say that the more markings, the better. And that's because you can use the markings on the ruler to give you different spacings when you're actually doing the ruler quilting. But I wanted to focus today on straight edge rulers because there's so many rulers. I don't have enough time to talk about all of them in this one video. But a good ruler to start off with is a straight edge ruler. So I want to show you a few examples of straight edge rulers and explain the differences on them. So when you're talking about a straight edge ruler, this is one that's in the Janome ruler kit, the starting ruler kit package. There's several different rulers in it, and one of them is this straight edge ruler that you see here. So you'll see there's different markings on it. There's also different angles on it, so it allows you to do lots of different straight line designs with different spacings with just this one ruler. A few things to mention about this ruler. The markings, of course, is one. You'll notice that it's just a straight edge. Okay, it sounds weird that I'm saying that, but I'm going to show you something different in just a moment, so I just want you to take note of that. The other thing with this ruler, this is probably the longest ruler I'd ever want to get, and that's because of how long it is in relationship to my hands. When you're ruler quilting, you want to make sure that you can press down on that ruler. You need to press down the ruler because you're going to have your ruler foot against it stitching along, and the ruler foot pushes against the ruler a bit. So you need to be able to push down a bit to keep that ruler in place. I mean, you're not going to have a death grip on it, but you need to make sure it stays in place. If you have a ruler that's substantially longer than your hand, it gets to the point where it might start wobbling a bit because you don't have that pressure on that area. So having a longer ruler, not really a help in my mind anyway. So keep it, not much longer than the length of your hand. This one's probably, as I said, probably the longest. This is an 8-inch ruler. A lot of the rulers I have are 6 inches. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So let's move this off for a moment. I'm going to put it over here. And then let's take a look at this. Here's another ruler. It has a straight edge on it. This is a Handy Quilter ditch ruler. So I'm going to explain what that is. This has these little pokies on it. Okay, I call them pokies. There's my technical term for them. Or needle stops, a lot of people will call them. So what this allows you to do is to line these up with the seam, if you're talking about stitching in the ditch, which is what this ruler is made for, and then your ruler foot is going to fit in here, okay? And you're going to be able to stitch along here until you get here, and then you're going to have to move the ruler along again. But what that allows you to do is to line these up with the seam lines, knowing that when your ruler foot is in here, that you're going to actually be stitching where these stops are aligned on your quilt. It sounds really weird, but what you always have to keep in mind when you're ruler quilting is that you are actually stitching or quilting a 1/4 inch away from the edge of your ruler foot. That's just how it works. Takes a while to get that in your head, but once you do, everything works out fine. So in this particular case, you can think of this as like a little indent, okay? And it means that when my ruler foot is in here, I'm actually stitching along here, okay, which would be my seam. So there are different rulers that will have those ruler stops on them. Ditch rulers do for sure, but there are other ones you might find that have those as well. Here's another Handy Quilter ruler. This is a mini scallop ruler, and one of the things I wanted to point out to you, here's where you're making the scallops, obviously, but on the other side of this ruler, if I turn it over, you'll see that there's these needle stops again, so I can stitch in here. Now this one's a little different, and you'll see lines on it. I don't want to go into great detail on it, but with this particular ruler, you're actually stitching a 1/2 inch away from where those needle stops are lined up with. But the point I wanted to make with this particular ruler is that while you would buy it for the scallop area here, so you want to be able to quilt scallops, it does have a straight edge as well. So you kind of get 2 rulers in one, if you will. You can also see that on other rulers. Here's another one. This is the Hooks and Lines Fish ruler from Nan Fishpaw. And again, you're making these nice big curves here but you can see that it's got a straight edge on it. So again, it works for that, and there are markings that you can see on it that you can use with that straight edge. You'll notice it's a straight edge with no needle stops, so it's very much like the Janome one that I initially showed you. This one here, sorry, go this way. This one here, there's no needle stops in it either. Okay, you don't need the needle stops to stitch a straight line. It's just that if you're stitching a ditch, it's really helpful. So you always need to remember that you've got that 1/4 inch from the edge of your foot to where you're actually quilting, and anytime you're working with the markings, you always have to kind of add a 1/4 inch on, if you will, to be sure that you know where exactly you're going to be stitching, okay? Putting the needle down also helps because that's going to show you exactly where you're going to be stitching. So when you're looking for a straight edge ruler or any type of ruler for quilting, you want to take a look and make sure you've got lots of markings on them. With the straight ones, I said if you've just got the straight edge with no needle stops, that's great for stitching straight lines. If it has extra lines on here, diagonal lines, even better. But you're going to be using something slightly different if you're wanting to be stitching in the ditch. You're looking for something that's got these needle stops in it so you can line up the little pokies with your seam and know that you're going to be right in the ditch when you're stitching. Are you a ruler quilter? Do you have a favorite straight edge ruler that you like to use? If you do, please leave a comment below and tell me what you like to use with your sewing machine because I'd love to hear from you. I have other videos on ruler quilting and free motion quilting on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check the description below this video for links to those. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps to put it in front of other viewers just like you. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. And before you go, check out these other videos I've included just for you. For more helpful quilting information, please go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.